If men didn't have the right to vote, how likely would women fight to give men that right?
Not as much as the men have supported the women.
Do you know anything about politics?
I do not. Since about maybe 4 years ago, I kind of dropped it. It's just been going haywire. It's confusing.
Why are so many women concerned with their right to vote if they know nothing about politics?
They shouldn't be concerned about it if they know nothing about politics.
Part of us wanting to be treated equal. So if a man is able to vote, they're like, I want to vote too. It's not really something we really want to do. We just want to have access to doing it, really.
Why don't more attractive women engage in conversations about philosophy and politics as opposed to fashion and pop culture?
Because they're worried about their looks.
Why?
Everyone's wanting to get famous. Everybody wants attention. Everybody wants money. It's all about looks nowadays.
Man, I think that's most of Americans nowadays. I don't even think it's just females.
Why don't more attractive women engage in conversations about philosophy and politics as opposed to fashion and pop culture?
Vanity. We've turned to such a vain society.
Fashion and pop culture is more appealing to public eye. As soon as it comes to like getting down and dirty, when it comes to politics or anything like that, it becomes hard, and sometimes we can get emotional.
Have you ever personally been denied the right to vote or own land?
I have not, but I know that it's possible.
I'm a felon. I got arrested for two DUIs in Oklahoma, and I went to prison twice.
Would you give up your right to vote if it required you to be drafted into war?
I'm not going to vote because I don't believe in our government.
What if I told you that voting rights originally required you to be drafted into war?
Brother, I served war. I'm a combat veteran. I'm a Marine.
Would you give up your right to vote if it required you to be drafted into war?
Would I give up my right to vote if it required me to get drafted? Whatever the answer is to not get drafted, I don't want to get drafted.
I would fight.
I would fight.
As long as I could bring my vape.
Vape, a drink,
Oh, no, I shouldn't say that. My mom.
my bed,
Would you give up your right to vote if it required you to be drafted into war?
100%.
Why?
I honestly think when it comes to the women fighting to be equal, we fought so hard that we actually now we're being treated equally, and we're being treated equal as, I don't know, I feel like war is really for men. I feel like men should be put on that front line, not women. We're supposed to be there taking care of the kids, homemaking.
Until women can be drafted into war, why should they be allowed to vote for politicians that can send men to war?
I can't answer that.
If they're going to vote, are they okay with being drafted into the military, right? A lot of women said no. But how can you have a say on, politics or views that you wouldn't even go to war and fight for, right? And yet they're going to expect men to do it. So I think that there are roles that men and women take place, and men have to decide they're going to step up to that.
What would you think if there was another draft and men all protested, holding up signs saying, "My body, my choice"?
I wouldn't mind it because it's right. A man's body is a man's body, and they do have their own choice.
But at the same time, this is your house. This is your land. If somebody was to come to my property and trespass and want to take over, you're going to step up. You can't just sit there and scream, "My body, my choice."
I would think that it would be well within their rights, because at the end of the day, why should we fight in a war that's caused by somebody else, some old man getting rich and wealthy off of our suffering? It ain't our war. It's yours. You did it.
Why are women able to vote on abortion, but men can't vote on being drafted?
Oh, that's a wild question. That is a wild question. That is crazy.
Men don't want to get drafted into war. Again, but I also believe it takes men to protect the household. It takes men to be warriors.
Men are supposed to be warriors. They're supposed to be the king of the house that has no throne.
Men should have a choice on being drafted or not, just as much as women have a choice of having an abortion.
Why are we always talking about women not having the right to vote when men's issues aren't even on the ballot? Wouldn't that equate to men not having the right to vote, which applies to right now?
Technically, yeah, it would.
How are men even being represented?
Honestly, men are not really being represented. It's women are the ones that are really being represented and supported by the community. Men don't really have that much support, and it's sad, but it's true.
Well, that just goes to show how much they want to put it in your face and let you know that you're nothing more than a tool, a piece of property that they're going to use until you're old and dry it out or die for some other unfortunate event. They just want you women.
See, again, this is where it goes back to passivity, right? When you have men that are passive and they're allowing just any issue to be brought up or whatever, we should be shutting down issues that don't matter.
When was the last time there was any policy made to help men?
To be honest, I honestly don't think there was one.
Are men struggling more from systemic problems or individual problems?
Individual.
Why are we telling men to go to the gym, get rich, and find individual solutions, as opposed to society doing more to help men on the systemic level?
Yeah, I do feel it is unfair. Men's emotions are taken for granted a lot.
You wouldn't have individual problems if it wasn't for the systemic problems. The systemic problems have impacted men's mental health and their social standings in their own families and households. So therefore, of course, it weigh heavy on them and cause individual problems, which they are not getting help for.
It's not about society not helping men, but men act real macho, real strong, like everything is good. But if they were to go out there and protest like they need help or they feel like their body, their choice, they would be able to have that voice behind them.
If men didn't have the right to vote, how likely would women fight to give men that right?
Honestly, it's still a 50-50 shot. There's some women out there that do believe men have the right, but there are women out there that are just overpowered with themselves.
How likely would women fight to give men that right?
Not as much as the men have supported the women.
How can we label society as a patriarchy where men oppress women when men don't give a crap about their own issues?
It's a good question. I never really thought about it in that way.
Men are pretty simple creatures. Give them toys, help them relieve their desires, if you know what I mean. And put good food and drink in their belly, and then that's all it really takes for them. But women, they're more complicated creatures. You got to care about their emotions, their feelings, where they want to go, what they want to do. It's a lot more to it.
I guess it's because most of the time, most of the things that men do, most of the decisions men make, you know what I mean, they have women in mind for some reason. Like when a man gets money, when a man gets fly, it's to impress a woman. When a man's on some tough shit, 9 times out of 10, it's to protect and impress a woman. So there's normally a woman behind the decision that a man makes.
As men, if we really desire that woman, we should suck it up and go for it. And that's pretty much how all the people in office are probably feeling at the same time. But I think women need to start putting a little extra effort into their end of the deal, though.
If women always had the right to vote, how would our society be different today?
It would be too emotional.
We'd be less respected, just like how a woman's running for president. The other countries see that if a woman gets elected for president, they're going to look at us as weak.
It'd be different, for sure. It'd be more feminine. It'd be basically how it is today, just polluted, brainwashed.
It would be the same as it is today because our society is it's all communism anymore. We're not a free country no more.
Why do women think that the men in power won't cater to women when they already have?
Cater to this how?
There's all sorts of laws that cater to women. The Violence Against Women Act, Title IX, custody, child support, things like that.
I just feel like that's not stuff that cater to women. That's stuff that women need because men don't stay. That's why people aren't building families out here just having babies and shit because they don't know no better.
I mean, aren't there things that men need?
Of course.
So why isn't our society
That's because
addressing
men
that?
is not talking about it. Men don't talk about the shit that females talk about.
Is it the fact that men aren't speaking about this, or is it the fact
Yes.
that men aren't heard when they do speak up about it?
They're not speaking about it enough. And it could be because they aren't heard as well.
Are women more likely to make snap judgments or be indecisive?
Yes.
Why is it that no woman in history ever knows where we should go eat?
Because we are so undecisive.
When women are hungry, our brain does not know what we want to do.
Why do women want to vote and make political decisions if they can't even decide where they should go eat?
That's true. You're right.
We want you to tell us where you want to go. Be the man, put your fucking dick down and say, this is where we are going.
If women can't decide where they want to go eat and they want a man to decide for them, how is that mindset different than women not wanting the right to vote because they wanted men to decide for them?
Again, I would agree. I think that, again, they've used that to try to empower one group, right? But there's no logic behind this empowerment.
Because we're already held at a different standard anyways. It's nothing against the actual men, but if our government wants to act like we're not as important as men, then you should do the fucking work. I can't, if I want an abortion and I can't get one somewhere, open my fucking door for me.
Why do women think the government's treatment of women should somehow correlate to how women should treat men in dating?
Oh, I've been waiting for that one. Okay. My honest opinion is women are getting a little too crazy at this point when it comes to dating. Women are becoming very, very dirty, very dog, catcalling to men. It's a little scary in my opinion.
Since there are so many disenfranchised men, why aren't conservatives and liberals both competing for the male vote? Don't they already use issues like abortion to win over the female vote?
They do use abortion. That's like that's the only thing I see for women. So
So why do you think they're not competing for the male vote?
they don't really care.
They're only trying to win over female votes.
Why?
Because female apparently have more power over men at this generation, which is crazy.
I think, just as you said, they're using issues like abortion and women's bodies' rights to attract the emotions of women to get us to vote on things that have nothing to do with that.
Again, they're just preying on falsehood, right? That's like saying that there's inequality in pay. That's also false. They've already proven that. Men hold jobs that women don't hold, and women hold jobs that men don't hold.
If women make up about 51% of the U.S. population, why are women considered minorities?
I have no idea. It sounds like a stupid thing, honestly.
I think minorities has to do with less of the population and more of who they feel like is being heard.
They're picking certain people because they already know that they can get that voice and they can use that as propaganda. That's all that really is. I mean, matter of fact, I just got done reading a book about how if you really want somebody to speak up for the voiceless, it can't be the person that's voiceless. It has to be somebody who has a voice that can speak up for that voiceless person, right? So
with men, they dismissed our problems a long time ago because they've been dealing with the women's rights since the early 1900s. So it's more newer than that because men kind of been in power for such a long time.
Why does our society cater to the minority at the expense of the majority? Isn't a democracy supposed to be majority rule?
I would hope maybe it's because people have heart and they want to fight for, the underdog. So maybe that's why. Maybe they like attention. Because a lot of people do root for the other people who help the underdog. So maybe that's why.
They're preying on that part of society, hoping that they can get them to side with their views and help them get their agendas across. So they make them feel empowered.
Why do women think that if we have a female president, everything will suddenly become amazing?
It won't. It really will not. I don't think there should be a female president.
That's lack of IQ, in my opinion. It's because there's no gender that's just going to heal everything.
A woman becoming president is definitely groundbreaking. It's definitely history being made. But do they really, when they think about it and they start digging into it, do we really want a woman? Do we really want a woman to run? If we can't get emotional in times. We definitely can. We are emotional human beings. Do we really want a woman running the entire United States that also is part of that?
We have a female vice president right now. If something was to happen to Biden, she would be president. So what's the difference?
Do you know any women who don't support feminism?
Oh, yeah, a lot. A lot.
I do, actually. I'm one of them that don't support feminism. I believe everything that women are doing nowadays for their rights is a little too much, in my opinion. They're going a little too far with it.
Why do you think a woman would go against her own self-interest?
It's not a self-interest. Feminism is destroying females. It's destroying traditional men who used to stand up and be, catering to women and open the door and be polite. Now, because of that, men don't feel a need that they need to be polite anymore.
Were you aware that there were women who didn't support having the right to vote in 1920? They were called anti-suffragists.
I did know about it, yeah.
Why do you think those women didn't want the right to vote?
They probably felt the same way I felt, where they felt like the man was just a little bit more strategic.
More men at that time were involved in the politics, stuff like that. The females, matter of fact, I think until 1972, 1974, women couldn't even get credit cards and stuff without their husband signing. So I think at that time, 1920s, they understood. They don't have a dog in the fight.
At the time, I think that they were expected to do as the man says exactly. So they just followed with whatever their husband said. Their husband had the control, so they went with it.
But they just think more clearly when it comes to the politics. Women are too emotional for it, way too emotional for it.
Women had traditional roles of taking care of the house. They're more nurturing. They want to raise the children. They're going to be. A lot of those women understood, like, be at home more, right? The men went out there. They fought the wars. They deserved the ability to be in the political arenas because they fought those wars. So I think it's just a different mindset, completely different compared to today.
Why do you think that men can't come together and lobby for change the way that women do?
Men definitely can come together.
But why aren't they?
I'm not sure. I think it may be a disconnect with their emotions or them wanting to tap into issues that they have. Men are taught to be macho and not show their feelings, and maybe that's what it is, or I don't know.